breakfast right here on Smooth 98.1.
Okay, what's going on?
Brought to you by Ethiopia.
Okay.
Depend on.
It's Smooth 98.1. This is Business Express, and it's a Friday. You know, every Friday is the tech edition of Business Express. As always, we love it when you're a part of the conversation, so let us know your thoughts. The WhatsApp number is 0809 440 981. You can also tweet at Smooth981. And we are also streaming live. Open our YouTube channel so you can catch that live stream and post a comment on there as well. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe. Our guest this morning is Bolu Abiodun, senior reporter, Techpoint Africa. Good morning, Bolu, and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, so there's quite a bit to talk about today, but I want us to start off with talking about Google renaming their AI. Now, Google announced yesterday it's renaming its bot chatbot to Gemini, releasing a dedicated Gemini app for Android, and even folding all of its Duo AI features in Google Workspace into the Gemini brand. Interesting times. So, Bolu, what do you make of this move by Google?
Okay, I think it's a very interesting move, and I think what Google is trying to do is actually they're trying to tap into their competitive advantage. So if you notice with a lot of AI moves recently, the AI space is getting pretty competitive. We have the likes of OpenAI and a lot of other companies coming up with like really, really great features. So what Google is trying to do here, what I think they're trying to do here is to tap into their competitive advantage. And when I say that, what I mean is Google owns Android, right? There are millions of Android users around the world. So by doing this, instead of making it a separate application, like what OpenAI has, right? So OpenAI has ChatGPT, right? ChatGPT has tons of users. I'm sure we remember how ChatGPT grew astronomically when it came out, like hundreds of millions of users in a very short period of time, right?
Yeah.
Google does not um, have that advantage, right? OpenAI got into the market first, not exactly first, but they were able to get a lot of users really fast, right? So they had that first mover advantage. So what Google wants to do now is, okay, we own Android. We already have people using our services. If we bundle our AI products with all these services, then we can tap into that market that we already have. So one thing they are doing with this is Gemini will now be a part of Google One. Google One is a feature that allows you expand your storage, right? So now if you give me, I for example have a Google One subscription, right? So if you give me Gemini Plus with that subscription, although the subscription price will increase, right? It now means that I will be a frequent and consistent Gemini user. So I don't know if you can see the play here, right? So they're adding into Gmail, they're adding into everything else that they already have a lot of users for, right? So one way or the other, right? Everyone that uses Google right now, everyone that uses an Android phone would somehow automatically become a Gemini user, right? So everyone, one way or the other, is using Google's AI product.
Okay, that is smart indeed. You're listening to Business Express on Smooth 98.1. I would love for you to be a part of the conversation. The WhatsApp number is 0809 440 981. And you can also tweet at Smooth981. All right, so massive football game on Sunday for all Nigerians, Bolu. I'm sure you're excited about that.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so this brings me to my next question. Remotelli, which is a Ghanaian tech startup, is seeking to empower aspiring football players with tech skills. I'm curious, what's your take on this?
It's very interesting, right? Footballers and tech skills is not something I thought It's not a combo I ever thought I would see, but this is actually quite interesting. And it's interesting because it's also coming at a time where we have AFCON going on, very exciting times, very exciting games we've seen in the past few weeks. And then now Ramotelli is coming up with this initiative to help footballers, right, to have something to fall back on. So obviously, our African players that already made it to AFCON will not be needing this because those are already professional footballers, right? This initiative is for those who are in that journey to get to becoming professional footballers, but cannot make it to the end, right? So I'm sure, statistically speaking, if your chances of becoming a professional footballer, right, is very, very slim, right? It's like one in 100,000, even 1 in 1 million, right? So if you go through all that ordeal, go through that stress, the training, and you have nothing to fall back on, it kind of leads to depression. And I think they also used a statistic that about 90% of those people who do not make it to become professional footballers end up going into depression. So this initiative is okay. Let's give you something to fall back on. And one of those things we can give you is tech, right? So it's not just Ramotelli is partnering with them because that is what Ramotelli can offer, okay? But then there are other things, right? It's not just, so it's a partnership with Pathways, right? Pathways is a project that wants to give footballers something else to fall back on if they are not able to, get all the way through to the end. So I think this is an interesting initiative. You don't really know what you're capable of until you try it. So those footballers might be good on the field, but they might also just be as good behind the laptop screen.
Right, right. Now, speaking about these tech skills, are skills still considered the hottest skills that anyone can get? Hottest skills in the market, really?
Okay, so are tech skills the hottest skills in the market? So I think tech skills just have very good PR. They are not necessarily the hottest skills, right? It has really good PR. People see tech bros as very rich, very wealthy group of people, which they can be, at times. But I think if you've spent enough time in the tech space like I have, talking to different people and meeting different people in the tech space, that a lot of things we see from the outside, it's a bit of a facade, right? Yes, there are people making tons of money, right? But it's not everybody, it's just a handful of people, right? And then funny enough, it's still those people that, become influencers that on Twitter. So everyone thinks, oh, once you get a tech skill, next thing for you after a
Life
couple
is
of years is to
beautiful.
make thousands of dollars every month. Yeah, but it's not that. There are a lot of other skills that are also just as profitable but might not have as good PR.
Okay, I've got a message from Tayo via WhatsApp. Tayo says, football with the euphoria will come and go. The skills you learn today, tech and non-tech, will stay with you after. As we say in politics, it's a welcome development. Okay.
Very interesting. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. You can only
All
play
right.
football for so long.
That is true. Oh, let's move on to electric cars. Now, Alemu Sime, who is the Ethiopian Minister of Transport and Logistics, made an announcement this week that the government basically has decided to only allow electric vehicles into the country. So basically, gasoline and diesel-powered cars are now officially banned. What do you think of this?
That's a very interesting story. Actually, I laughed a little when I saw it, and I was like, okay, what exactly is going on here? So what they're trying to do is, I think one of the things that is fueling this decision is the FX pressure that the country is getting from importing so much fuel. So they don't want to import fuel as much. So they're saying, let's scrap cars that use fuel altogether, right? But the problem with this is the EV market, even in advanced countries, is not that mature, not to talk of Africa, right? So take the US market, for example, only about 1%, right, of every car in the US is an electric vehicle. And the US is a very big EV market. right?
Yeah.
And one of the leading reasons why, I mean, there was a survey where they asked people why aren't they buying EV vehicles, and one of the leading causes is, one is that it's expensive. The second is there is no infrastructure, charging infrastructure, which is very, very important, right? So this is the US that has a GDP of what, $27 trillion, compared to Ethiopia with about 111 billion, right? So if people in the US are saying EVs are expensive, what will people in Ethiopia say, right? So these are the issues, and this is why I think the government is making what I think is a very rash decisions based on the kind of pressure they are under, the FX pressures they are under, because if EV hasn't developed to that level in those big markets, it will take time before it can develop in markets like Ethiopia, where people cannot, even afford recently released gasoline vehicles, not to talk of EVs that are more expensive. I mean, the average EV vehicle is about $30,000. So you can see how that might be a strain on the people in the economy. So I think they need to look for other solutions to their fuel problem, and scrapping gasoline vehicles, that's not just going to work.
Mm. All right, let's move on to financial inclusion and banking on WhatsApp. It's amazing how banking services have evolved, right? South Africa, a bank in South Africa has now introduced a wallet for direct banking services on WhatsApp. So it's no more just for keeping up, it's no more just for work, it's now also for banking. Now, users who don't have a bank account can actually manage their funds using this WhatsApp wallet. What are your thoughts on this, Bolu?
Okay, so I think people need to understand exactly how WhatsApp, well, it's called WhatsApp banking. So how it works is, it's not like you have an account on WhatsApp, like as if WhatsApp is managing an account for you. So it's basically you just interfacing with someone who has access to your account through WhatsApp. So basically a chatbot, right? That you communicate, okay,
Right.
you spend money here, uh, save these, I want to initiate this sort of transactions, right? So, when you understand it that way, then you get it a bit more, right? So it's interesting. I mean, it's one way to increase financial inclusion, but then this has been done before with Facebook, with the same Absa Bank back in 2018, right? That's a couple of years ago. And it's up until now, I think they've only had about 10,000 users through Facebook Messenger. It might be different with WhatsApp, but only time will tell.
All right. In just about a minute, what about the safety of WhatsApp? Is this a concern? I mean, if you're having this conversation with your chatbots, trying to carry out transactions, I mean, that is crucial information that is being exchanged, isn't it?
Yes, it's very crucial. I mean, you can just imagine if someone gets access to your phone, goes to WhatsApp, and makes a transaction on your behalf, that would be damaging, right? But I think one of the things they've done is, one, putting key security features in place. So there are certain questions that needs to be answered before some of those transactions can be initiated, so that people do not initiate transactions on your behalf without you knowing about it. Yeah, but another issue is KYC, right? Financial inclusion is important, it's necessary, but then when you look at the KYC side of things, for the sake of growing numbers, for the case of financial inclusion, we've seen some financial institutions compromise on KYC, which could be very bad, right? So if people who do not have bank accounts, if the KYC feature is very lax, right, then people could perpetrate fraud with this, kind of thing. It's easy to move money around when you don't have good information about who exactly is the owner of this account, what are they using for, what does the person do for a living, and a lot of other information like that. But interestingly, I think APSA is saying there's going to be strict KYC, right? Biometrics and things like that. But then if it's going to be that, if the KYC is going to be that strict, I think it now defeats the total purpose of financial inclusion, right? Because they're
Okay.
expecting people who do not have bank accounts to use these things. But then if the KYC is that strict, people, I mean, that's statistically, people who don't have bank accounts are people who aren't so tech inclined. So if you're asking them to do all this, you might just be defeating the purpose of creating that in the first place.
All right, let's look at a few messages coming through. Fine Oluboroko says, this AI and football combo is not clicking for me. Talking electric vehicles, even the developed countries for now don't have a widespread infrastructure, and Ethiopia wants EVs instead of petrol cars. They should just forget that for now. They should just forget that for now. Tayo says, KYC reinforcement for lesser operated fintech solutions should be emphasized on, or else users are exposing themselves to heavy risk. Well, thanks for listening. Thanks for your messages. That is it for Business Express this morning. Special thanks to our special guest this morning, Bolu Abiodun, senior reporter at Techpoint Africa. Thank you, Bolu.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that is it for Business Express. Do stay with us. There's a lot more to come on the Smooth Breakfast. Thank you.
You're welcome.